Alright, so here we go. We're going to start preparing to build our 2xx project site, and we're going to do this by creating a new repository in GitHub. We'll move along kind of quickly in this video, considering that we've done this a time or two before. So we'll create our repository name, which will be 2xx. Go ahead and let's add a little description in there. And let's change this right here. Include MySQL because we're covering PHP and MySQL on this one. We'll go ahead and we'll leave it public so we all can get to each other's, and then we'll initialize the readme file. We'll use the readme file to track changes and keep notes and capture information about the project as we go along. So at this point, we'll cover more git ignore stuff later. Let's just create this repository. And now that we have it created, check it out. There it is. Make sure everything looks right. It does. So let's go ahead and go into settings. And what we want to do in settings is we want to take advantage of the web service that GitHub Pages offers. And we're going to set the source of it to our master branch. Now this won't show up right away. We'll click save and it won't show up right away, but eventually the server will register the site and we'll be able to come back to it, and when we do posts we'll be able to take a look, commits, we'll be able to take a look at our results there as well as on our website. It's a nice little feature. I'm going to go ahead and copy the link because our next step, what we're going to work towards, is setting up our local machine and cloning it down, and we're going to clone it. In this project we're using xampp, so we'll go ahead into xampp, and unlike xampp, we're going to go into htdocs, which is the local host service. And if you type ls, we get a look in there and make sure we don't have our 2x in there already, which we don't. And now we're going to go ahead and do a git clone. And we'll go grab that address one more time in case you missed it. I just control-tabbed over to my GitHub. I grabbed the address. I'm going to paste it in here and hit enter. Cloned it down. It compresses it into objects, and then it brings it down and decompresses it. So now let's go over to our 2x directory. You can see that we're in our 2x directory. Our readme file is there. I brought that down. You can see we're on our master branch origin, and you can see that we're nice and clean. So at this point, we've cloned down the repository. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and set up our subdomain that's going to host our site. So we go to our Agavus hosting and hop into hosted domains, and we're going to create a subdomain. And that subdomain, of course, is going to be 2xx. Now I'll do it on insideoutproject.com, but of course you'll do it on your primary domain. Add it. It was successfully added. So now that we have it successfully added, we should be able to scroll down and look at it under our primary domain. We see it there, and next thing we're going to do is click on edit domain, and we're going to go after setting up an SSL by selecting a shared IP for SSLs. And as you saw down here in secure socket layers, it automatically switched to request let's encrypt SSL. So we can click edit host, and that will position it for HTTPS. That won't be available right away. It never is. It takes a while. The server has to do some things, and it's actually putting a certificate in there. So in the meantime, we can just let that set up. We don't have to worry about it and get obsessive about it. We'll go check our file system real quick. Make sure that that looks right by selecting our domain, right? So our 2x. And we see that our startup page is in there. And now we want to create our FTP account. we'll do this. We're going to use Dreamweaver through this exercise, and then we'll run aside with Adam. So we use username, select our domain, we'll use student, and we'll use raccpass. Make sure that your path is pointed to your 2x project, and add the FTP account. Now that we added our FTP account, we can go ahead and copy it, because we know when we're setting up Dreamweaver that using that FTP account, copying that FTP account name includes all the information except for the password that we want to use to set up define our site in Dreamweaver. So we'll go ahead and we'll copy that, and we'll go ahead and hop over to Dreamweaver now. In Dreamweaver, we're going to go in, we're going to new site, we're going to name it 2xx. We're going to point the local site folder to the xampp htdocs 2x. Right now I'm in WAMP, so we're going to use xampp htdocs. There's our 2x folder. We'll go ahead and we'll select it. You saw the Git folder that was in there, the hidden folder. We'll set up our server, add a new server. Go ahead and you can actually start just using the information that you copied in there, and giving you little hints here on what to put into yours. So yours would be student_2x and your domain. Raccpass for the password. And then we're going to click test. Make sure we have a good connection. So we're connected. It means our server is talking to our site. So now we're going to go to the advanced, because what we're going to do is we're going to try something new, and you got to be super careful, but we're going to click on automatically upload files to server on save. So this means every time that you click save when you're working in a file, it's just going to automatically push it up to the web host. It saves a couple steps of right clicking and put or synchronizing. Let's take a look at our remote server. And we see that index.html. Let's do a get and bring that down. Come back to our local. Let's open up our readme file. And in here, we want to go ahead and we want to put in, just put a link. We're going to start it off with a link to our site, and we're going to keep record of changes that we make and things like that inside this file as we move along, as we progress in the project. But it's always nice to start with that production site link inside there. It makes it accessible for you to get to. Great. So we'll save that, and when we saved it, it actually pushed it up to remote. We can see that because we had it set to push on save. And we have our files ready, our site set up. We know we have GitHub set up. We're good there. So the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and add the files and commit them and do our repository stuff. So we run a status and we can see what's been modified and what's been added. So readme's been modified, index added. So we do a git add dot, and that just adds all new files and all changes, and we can see that it's all in green now. So now we're going to go ahead and commit it. We'll go ahead and put first commit in there, just so we can look back on this later in the project and be like, that's where our first commit was. So at this point, let's check the status again. Our commit took good. Everything was good. We're one commit ahead of the master branch on Git. So let's do our push. And that's git push origin in the master branch. It's going to ask me for my GitHub username, and then my GitHub password. And if you notice, you won't see it being typed in when you're typing it. So did our push, everything went up, and at this point I think we're good. And so the best way to know if we're really good is go on out to GitHub, refresh, And we can see that our information is in there. We can see that that link that we put on there is in there, and we are good to go.